Welcome back to another episode of the FPL Sheeple podcast, or should I say, the Mo Salah show, because FPL has now become the monopoly of this one great player. I'm your host, Carling FIFA, and we come to you after Game Week 9, where we saw some amazing hauls due to big victories for Chelsea and Liverpool. I'm joined by my co host, FPL Donatello. How was your game week, Donatello?
Hey, it was a good week, but you should also talk to my bench and and ask how the game week was because it was incredible. Yeah, the Mo Salah show seems to be the uh, right name for this episode, and probably I don't know how many episodes because that guy is running riots everywhere and he's just
Yeah,
out of this world. And also thanks to him, this game week was actually saved for probably everyone who captained him because
yeah,
till that game everything seemed bleak. Like I remember I only had like around 30 odd points, 35, 36 or 40 odd points, and then 48 points from the great Mo Salah. So yeah, that changed the entire outlook of the game week, and eventually made it into a good one.
yeah. I mean, I feel this week's episode's title, as well as last week's episode title, was super apt because last week we said that we should probably captain Salah forever, and it now
Yeah.
turns out that that's probably the most obvious thing one should do. And I was also, I remember I said in the last episode that. With this form, Mo Salah will hit like 400 points in FPL, but that's not going to happen. But I think I
Yeah.
should take those words back, and I should probably just say this when it's sort of mathematically impossible, or like in the last game week when he's actually not close to that score or something. But because he's just unbelievable, and it was such a bittersweet sort of match. I mean, more bitter than
For
sweet,
you.
yeah, for
Yeah.
me because during the match, I did not care how many points Mo Salah was getting at all because it was
EO.
ridiculous. No,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. I mean, I was just stunned by the United defense, and I didn't care about what's happening, as in who's getting what points. Obviously, later when I settled down a bit, I realized that, oh, really, it's been a massive haul, and all of us, yeah, as you said, our game weeks were saved because of this Messiah.
Yeah, I
So
think everyone took a leaf out of Harry Maguire's playbook and was stunned as to what was going
yeah,
on. And
yeah.
and yeah, even I was watching that game along with the India-Pakistan match, and
Mhm.
one side we were losing to Pakistan, and I was like, okay, this cannot be saved. And the other side, Liverpool scored 2-0, and I was like, okay, maybe United might, have a comeback. And they actually were playing well between minutes 20 and 30, I guess. So they actually had like some control over the game. And
Mhm.
then just before halftime, it's 4-0. And then it's unbelievable. I mean, Mo Salah was like
Yeah.
clinical, and everything that Liverpool did that match was just like exceptional. So it was just one of those days where everything you touch is gold, and like same thing happened last year with Tottenham. They scored
Hmm.
6-1. It was like a freak match, but
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks to Salah, everything is saved. I mean, we didn't. I mean, I also would like to bring up Mason Mount. Even though we didn't have him in our teams, he also
Yeah.
scored a hat trick and got the same amount of points as Salah, 24 points. So,
Hmm.
and there's one more hat trick. I think it was Josh King from
Yeah.
Watford. He scored a hat trick as well. So it was a weekend full of goals in the English Premier League, and loved watching every single one of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that after the Chelsea 7-0, the yeah, over there actually looking at Mount's Hall, we didn't feel too bad or whatever. It was a little, we were a little indifferent because Mount is not so highly owned, and so yeah, that was all fine. And the Chelsea defenders, the wrong, I mean, at least the ones I didn't have ended up scoring points. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was, yeah, sort of an indifferent match. But here, I mean, the Liverpool match was crazy, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's see how long we can keep captaining Salah and he gives us hauls. This will be really interesting.
Well, I think it's for one more week because it's Brighton next, so there's no question on who we are captaining, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So there's no spoiler here. I'm
There's
sure
no spoiler.
the entire FPL world, or at least the people who are
Yeah.
actively playing it, including the 20 content creators, there's not going to be a debate. He's going to be the
Mm.
captain for everyone.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into this week's episode then. We have our usual agenda where we will first review the template team and the uh, the teams from game week 9, especially the 20 teams of the content creators who we regularly follow. And we take a look at the players that are common amongst all of these teams and the ones that are not so common, and try to figure out which players gave the teams that got a high score an edge over the others. And that sort of is an exercise we do every week just to get a hold of what could be the good picks to have in the next few weeks or so.
Right.
Fine. Then we'll go to the creator of the week for game week 10, whose deadline is tomorrow. So we are recording this a bit late because of a busy work week for both of us, and so we'll take a look at who the creator of the week was and what their suggestions for this week were, and then we finally um, have made some changes to our teams based on those suggestions, and we will preview game week 10 towards the end of the episode.
Hmm.
So then I guess let's just get into the nitty gritty of things. Uh, so this week, actually, the template team from the 20 content creators changed structure once again. So I think in the last couple of weeks we saw a few changes in the formation from three
Yeah.
at the back to four at the back, and now we've reached the ultimate form where we have five at the back. Um,
This,
so
this is exactly what we discussed before we made changes today.
yeah.
I just cannot see myself keeping any of those five defenders or like whatever defenders we have on the bench because
Mm-hmm.
each one of them is performing and giving us points. So yeah, the template team and even our team structure is now changed to five at the back because it's just impossible to bench anyone.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. I mean, certainly now sort of makes sense to invest heavily in defense, especially the Liverpool, Chelsea, and City defense. Uh, all the three defenses are doing well, and
Yeah.
Livramento from Southampton is this hidden pick who seems to be
Oh,
doing
that guy
amazing.
is just amazing. He's just
Yeah.
performing day in and day out. So,
Yeah, he could have gotten more points. He hit the post
oh
and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing. So yeah, this five at the back is a really interesting idea, and certainly we've explored it this week as well. And actually, one of the other considerations we were having for this episode is to now try to think about having three players each from Chelsea, Liverpool, and City, because these teams are like a cut above everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we don't want to
We've
touch
we've
upon.
applied for a special wildcard with to FPL so that we could make those changes
Yeah,
and
I
nine players from these three teams and we are set for the entire year.
yeah, something like that. But I'm afraid of Pep and Tuchel roulette, man. I don't know if I would do a three each of City and Chelsea for the long term. I'm going to be like losing it every
Yeah,
week
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with that. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So this week, the template team. Let me just read it out. Was as follows. Ramsdale is now finally the most template goalkeeper for these 20 content creators. 9 of them have picked Ramsdale, so he's not quite like a standout pick, but he's edged out Sanchez um, over others. So then you have Trent, who's in 17 teams, Cancelo in 18 teams, Livramento in 11 teams, and then you have Diaz and Rudiger, who are in 8 and 9 teams respectively. Then finally, Mo Salah is in all 20 teams. He was also the captain for I think 16 out of the 20 teams or 17 of them, because a few content creators went with Havertz captain last week. Then yeah, I'm yeah, we'll see in the spreadsheet what happened to these content creators. Then you have Rafinha in 18 teams and Mbuemo in 12, and finally in the forward line you have Antonio in 18 teams and Vardy in 14 teams. So the Lukaku to Vardy switch seemed to be a very clear switch that happened in most teams, and now anyway the premium strikers are not playing well,
Yeah.
so mm, yeah, so the striker numbers have also reduced a bit. So yeah, so that's the template team, and I noticed that I had 10 out of these 11 picks in my team,
Yeah.
except
Mm.
Rudiger. I had everybody in my team, so it's sort of I'm going super template already compared to everyone, and so uh, and for you at least it's like just 7 players. So you
Yeah.
are, I think, because you wildcarded a bit later, I think you are now picking up the players which are probably better for the next few weeks, more than me. I'll have to make
Yeah.
transfers to do this.
Yeah. I decided like last week it was Ben Krellin's. I followed Ben Krellin's white card draft. And then that's why I don't have certain players, because I decided to go for players that he plans on owning in the following game weeks. So that's why I have a few. Like I don't own Antonio, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't own Ramsdale or Rudiger. I have Chilwell, so I think that's going to change, and we're going to see that change in the next game week's template team.
Yeah, i'm sure I'm sure about that as well. So yeah, so then that was the template team. Let's then move on to how we did this week. So yeah, as at the beginning of the episode, Donatello mentioned that we were sort of to around the late late 30s, early 40s sort of a score, and then the Mo Salah Hall propelled us to what we had in the end. And even though I had 85 points in the end, this was not a great score because I ended up with a red arrow. So I went
Yeah.
down from 164k to 186k, which is not a big fall, but it's still, for such a massive score, one would expect that I would have gotten a green arrow, but that was not to
So
be.
yeah, so quick calculations on your score. If you take out the 58 points between Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold, you have 27 points from the 9 players in your team.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that would have been a shambles of a game week.
I mean, yeah, I have no clue. I mean, I think even before, I mean, the Liverpool game really stopped my red arrow being a big one. It's basically because the only Chelsea defender I have, Azpilicueta, didn't play, and so I
Yeah.
missed out on all the points from the Chelsea players, and that's a massive
Yeah, I
number of
think you
points.
missed out on at least 10 or 12 points if you had gone for Chilwell or Reece
Yeah,
James, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. And so, I mean, yeah, last week I was sort of, my hands were tied and I had to make the Lukaku to Vardy switch. I mean, I couldn't do anything else. I mean, I would have had to take like a -4 to change Aspilicueta to like a Chilwell, but I feel that's a very sideways move. I know it would have gained me
Mm.
points in hindsight, but I don't know. I didn't feel like making such a move.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, there's no real point in reading out my team because like Rafinha and Mbuemo ended up being injured. They just got 1 point. So did Vardy. He got 1 point. Antonio got 7 and Tony got 2. And Cancelo and Diaz lost their clean sheet. So, I mean, they were in control. I don't know what happened, but they lost their clean sheet towards the end. And so they just got 2 and 1 point.
That
And yeah,
is that is really frustrating, because when you have two defenders of the same team,
yeah,
and then that team holds on to a clean sheet to like 80th minute and then they concede, so that's the most frustrating part, because they're almost there with those like 12, 14 pointers, because some of them might get bonuses, and then it just goes down, and then you end up with 3 points between the two players because one of them got a yellow card. So yeah, it's getting frustrated over the last couple of game weeks, because City is like conceding, or some of the players are not even playing. So
yeah, that's true. And actually, for me, I remember when I played my wild card in
mm,
game week 8. I brought in Tony and Embuemo.
mm,
like well in advance, because now Brentford's fixtures are easier, and
Right.
I got them in for these next few fixtures rather than, let's say, game week 8 and 9. And so
Hmm.
that's why I was sort of probably prepared for 8 and 9 to be a bit bad. uh,
Hmm.
and now I hope that at least this long term planning, let's see how it goes in the next few weeks,
Yeah.
if Brentford, gives me back, because I put faith in them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was my review. Let's take a look at your team then.
Sure. I got 1 point less than yours. But I had a little small arrow, green arrow, because I wildcarded. I didn't have any hits, so it was surprising to see that. But I grew in like 20,000 points or 25,000 rank places in rank. A very small green arrow, similar to yours. I had 58 points from Trent and Salah, and then Chilwell with those 12 points. Apart from that, pretty, nothing to talk about. It's just 1 point or 2 point. Rafinha, Embumo, and Vardy, same as yours. Did not
Mm-hmm.
like everyone, all of them gave me 1 point each. But like the interesting part with my team is what I was talking about when I wildcarded last week is I wanted to have depth in my team, and that worked out really well, but not really well as well, because I have 30 points on my bench, which is incredible to believe. Because I was having second thoughts of playing these players, especially Rafinha and Embumo, because I wasn't really sure if they were going to give me attacking returns based on their form, or it just wasn't feeling right. And I was thinking about substituting Smith Rowe and Livramento in the team. That would have given me additional 22 points. But I just decided to stick with my team, and 30 points on the bench. Smith Rowe 13, Livramento 9, and Broja 8 points. So if I calculate those 30 points instead of the 3 points that Rafinha, Embumo, and Vardy gave me, I would have had something like 111 points, which would
Yeah.
have been massive. Like I would have grown in rank like immensely. But yeah, it was frustrating, but I'm happy that I have these players, and I'm happy that my squad has the right depth. So in case if any of these players don't feature and yeah, the players perform, it's always good that your bench is strong, and then if anyone has to come in, then you get those points from your bench. So um, shocking, but I'm glad with the 84 points. Would have been amazing if I would have gotten like a few more 10, like just like you said, 10 or 15 more points for like a good boost in the rankings. But that's fine for now. So yeah, that was my game week 9 points.
All right. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, the bench was a real bummer, but yeah, I mean these, yeah, such things happen, and yeah, we wish they didn't. I mean, especially after a wild card, yeah, uh, it, you would think that you would get a massive boost in rank or at least in points, but yeah,
Yeah.
that just ends up on your bench. Yeah, that's a bummer. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so moving on to the creator team comparison for game week 9, and this week's winner with a massive 128 points is Sam Bonfield from the FPL family. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, she's got all the correct players. Actually, interestingly, she only had three in her defense,
Hmm.
and those were, and not even like Chilwell and James who got like 12 and 13 points. She had
Hmm.
Rudiger, Alexander Arnold, and Livramento. All of
Yeah.
them got like 9 and 10 points. And then obviously in midfield she had Salah as her captain, but she had Jota and Foden, which were
Yeah.
massive differentials. Jota got 11
Big
points, Foden got
differentials.
18 points, and Foden is anyway looking good, and he's being uh, talked heavily this week. Many content creators, jumping on the Foden train and trying to catch his points. And then she has Harry Kane up front as well. So I think she's preparing for the next few weeks where fixtures get easy. Kane has not done well so far at all, but I mean, you never know. Harry Kane can just start firing, right?
Yeah, Tottenham have a very easy fixture the next game, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think she's well prepared for all of those, all of that, and she has the right mix of players. So yeah, it's very interesting. And of course, she has Jimenez and Antonio who also fetched her points. So all of her players returned, and that's why it's a 128 point score. It's not just because Salah scored so many points. I mean, without Salah's points, she already had 80,
Yeah,
and so that's like way more than we had without Salah, right? So that's why she did so well.
exactly. It's a great team. I mean,
Yeah.
Foden and Jota being the real differentials. Like Salah, of course, with those 48 points, but Foden and Jota were the ones that
Yeah.
propelled her with to those 128 points.
Yeah, exactly. So, right. So then let's take a look at all the rest of the teams. So this week we've switched it up a bit. So every week we take a look at a spreadsheet that we prepare, where we have all the 20 content creators who we are following throughout the season, and we compare their game week points. Obviously, we have their total points, their overall rank, and we take a look at who their captains were, and then mainly which were the players that started in each of the teams. And
Hmm.
so and then we arrange these players in order of their frequency. So Salah, who's in all 20 teams, is the most common player, so he's the first pick. Then Rafinha is in 18 teams, he's the second pick, or the second player. And then as we move to the right of this spreadsheet, we go to the picks that were more rare,
Hmm.
right? And we scroll around and take a look at the spreadsheet to pick out sort of get some takeaways that we can use for the next game weeks or so. And so we also link this spreadsheet in the description of our audio and our video versions, so anyone who is interested in downloading and taking a look at the spreadsheet or playing around with it can just go to the link and do this. And and so from this week, instead of showing the spreadsheet, because we don't really do much with it during the show, we will now just focus on the main takeaways and discuss them in more depth. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's take a look at these takeaways. Then why don't we start with yours?
Yeah. So just like last week, the key takeaway is always trust Mo Salah for captaincy. Uh, he paid us off last week with those 26 points and this week with 48 points. So I'm pretty much thinking of keeping him set and forget for the foreseeable future. He's in is one of the best forms of his life. So you know it's amazing. 48 points. You don't like we were expecting him to have like a hat trick in game week 9. Sorry, in game week 8, but he did it against Manchester United, which is amazing. So, um, yeah. So that was my key takeaway. I'm like as I said, gonna keep him as a captain for the foreseeable future. Um, Next thing is again premium forward woes continue. Um, Kane, Vardy, Ronaldo, all more than 10 million in value, and all of them returning just 1 point or 2 points. Ronaldo hasn't done anything for the last 4 game weeks. Vardy had some fitness issues and was taken off during the halftime, and Kane is just being Harry Kane and is not interested in playing for Tottenham this season, so isn't doing much at all. So um, yeah, so you know these players are holding a lot of like value in your team, like 10 million plus. You can easily take them out and get some really good defenders or midfielders that are actually delivering day in and day out. So I think that's something for us to think about. I mean, we're not going to make drastic changes to our teams like for this game week or like for the next game week. But if the form, if I mean, especially not Vardy because he was doing well before this game week, but you know, it's when like hundreds of thousands of managers made that change when Lukaku was unfit or was injured, and he just delivered 1 point. That's like an insane, bad returns. So I think it's going to come to a point where we have to think out and decide whether you really are going by FPL history uh, of these being big name players, and or whether you're going by their current form, which I feel is more important. If they're not delivering day in day out, you need to get them out of your team. So that's I think something that I feel I thought a lot about, and we'll give it a thought if Vardy or any of the big names don't deliver in my team. So that's one thing to take away from the spreadsheet. And differentials, as every week I look at the differentials of all the content creators, and which ones stood out for me were Mason Mount. He was incredible, like 24 points. I think only a few players had him in the team. Not sure only a couple actually. It was I think FPL General and Ben Krellin who had Mount
Yeah.
in their teams, and both of them scored 100 plus points. And then the Chelsea defense duo, Chilwell and James, both of them giving like 12 points and 13 points respectively in insane haul. So, and Chilwell has scored three goals on the trot. So I think he will be in most of the content creators teams going forward, because he's like the hot property that you need to have right now. So and the next differentials that I saw, or that we already discussed in Sam's team, where Jota and Foden. Jota coming back after a few game weeks, delivering 12 points, which is immense. I think it was 12 or 11. I'm not.
11.
I think
Yeah.
it was 11. Yeah, 11 points, and Foden with 18. Now that he's playing that false nine or that forward role, replacing Ferran Torres, uh, he's going to pretty much deliver day in and day out. Given City's fixtures are not bad at the moment, so those two are definitely on my watch list as well, to get in the team. So good differentials to have. And the last thing, again, the differentials were on my bench.
Mhm.
30 points on my bench. Yeah, but I'm not going to discuss them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were like the key takeaways from the spreadsheet from my side. What about yours?
Yeah, so for me, I think I'm going to go back a bit to the screenshot of the spreadsheet, just to take a look at the distribution of points. And
Mhm.
as I mentioned at the beginning, it was like the 84 and 85 we got was towards the bottom of this entire list.
Mhm.
And it was I mean, everyone got way more than that. And I was trying to figure out what it could be for these players, and I noticed that mostly it was nothing to do with sort of the template players, because for me, for example, I have 10 out of the 11 template players. um, but it was more about the differentials this week, and so those all the players you mentioned stood out for the teams that ended up being
Yeah.
on above our score, and
Mhm.
especially the ones at the top. uh, and so and so that's why, for me, the key takeaway this week was that the differentials made a bigger difference rather than
Yeah.
the template players. I mean, obviously, except the captain, because the captain was common, and in fact, people who had Havertz are right at the bottom, most obviously because they missed out on those 24 extra points from Salah. uh, so yeah, so that sort of was a key takeaway this week. And I feel, I don't know, this sort of rarely happens, at least so far in the 9 game weeks. We haven't seen like the differentials making this big a difference, such that so many content creators are now suddenly up top, or get like a lot of points because they had many differentials together, or a combination of them. So yeah, I feel this was sort of an anomaly, and I think things will revert back to the templates being template for a reason, and getting more points than the differentials.
Uh, yeah, definitely. That I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, I even though it's tending towards having 4 or 5 defenders at the back, and it's becoming harder to bench any of the defender. I feel that the defense points are too unpredictable, because I think ever since game week 7, where the Chelsea fixtures changed, and then the heavy defense sort of became a thing where people started picking one or two defenders from a single team like Chelsea or City, and then having two others from the other remaining teams. So they normally, everyone has like four premium defenders at least in most of their teams. But I feel that ever since that point, none of these teams have altogether kept a clean sheet. It will
Mm.
always just be like one of the three teams keeping a clean sheet, and therefore I feel that the defense points are a bit unpredictable, and we've seen
Mm.
that consistently. You have just like 1 point, 2 point here and there, and then it'll be a random haul from one of the wing backs who only starts once every 2 weeks or something, like Chilwell or James, who are not even uh, like nailed. So I feel that even though the defense heavy is an approach that's common, I feel these points are a bit unpredictable.
Mm.
So I feel that, and your point about premium forwards being bad, I think these two together point to only one direction, which is that we should invest heavily in midfield. And I think that's going to start becoming true more and more in the next few weeks, because now in a couple of weeks Tottenham's fixtures will ease up, and Son has been in amazing form irrespective of Harry Kane's form. Son has been in great form, so people will now start having Son by game week 12 or something like this, and then so you will have Salah and Son. Then people are already tending towards Foden and Mount, and so this is like a heavy midfield, and I feel therefore we can start already losing the premium defenders and the premium forwards, and now investing
Yeah.
in midfield. So I think that's what we should try and do in the next couple of weeks, provided our content creators of the week also suggest something similar. So we'll take a look. In the end, we are sheep, so we don't want to suddenly start becoming leaders. So yeah, but I just feel that this might be a way to go forward.
No, 100%. I think your point on the defense is bang on, because that's what we've been observing, barring the Chelsea clean sheet and those goals by Chilwell. There's no defender who has been like consistent. I guess Livramento can be put in that category,
And
but
Trent, who's
and
naturally
Trent,
consistent, yeah.
yeah. Uh, so you're essentially calling out all the City defenders because
City and Chelsea, yeah,
Chelsea-
even Chelsea because of rotation more than clean sheets, and Chelsea, I
yeah,
mean City purely because, I mean, keep a clean sheet,
because
man. Come on.
yeah, I mean, you play a game and you give in goals at the very last minute is just frustrating.
Yeah,
Just keep all the FPL managers in your mind when you're letting
yeah,
that conceding that goal.
yeah.
All the
Ederson,
hearts that
yeah,
you're
yeah,
breaking, it's
yeah,
just it's ridiculous. So yeah, I
yeah,
think that's definitely makes sense. But when you look at my team, you're going to even though I agree with this point, my team
yeah,
does not. So yeah, we'll get to that.
yeah. We'll take a look at that. All right. So then we'll now just quickly go over the creator impact so far, um, because every week we are now comparing how much points we gained because of the changes we made based on content creator suggestions. And so every week we are just taking a look at these gains and seeing at the end of the season which content creator suggestions sort of helped us the most. And lo and behold, because of my amazing Lukaku to Vardy switch, I gained 1 entire point, and that's what I gained in game week 9. But it's still 1 point more than I would have gotten. That's not massive.
Yeah.
And for you, essentially, what we did was we calculated what the score would have been if you had continued on with the same team as in game week 8, and you got 3 more points in your wildcard team than you would have with your team before that. I know you had a lot
Yeah,
of points on your bench, and I mean that's probably something you can quickly throw back at me. But yeah, essentially, the wildcards have not been good for us in the game week immediate after we played them.
yeah. And if I would have been an actual sheep and copied Ben's exact team, I would have, gotten a lot more, because
Yeah,
he had Mount, and I decided to go for Son instead of Mount. So, uh,
yeah,
don't be a leader.
yeah,
Be a sheep. Just follow
yeah.
blindly is what I
Ooh,
feel I should have done.
I have to probably take back my heavy midfield rant and this long-term planning rant that I have had in this episode.
uh,
Yeah, I should just probably just blindly follow what the content creators are saying, and yeah, we should have.
Well, not everything, not everything. Like the Havertz thing was just, I mean, it was ridiculous to me. I mean, we can have a discussion on that later, but
Yeah,
I just,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think.
sometimes I look at Twitter and I feel, everyone starts, on piling on the bandwagon of a certain player when one player gets injured. And I mean, that player, again, I feel like you have to take in mind the player's current form when you are, considering him to taking in the team. And Havertz, I mean, you have to have a really bad day when you don't score for a team that scores 7 goals that day. So,
Yeah,
he's just not doing that great for me to even consider having him in my team. So that was just like a ridiculous punt, I feel.
yeah, yeah, possibly that's true. I mean, even I don't trust him. That's why I didn't pick Havertz. And
I mean,
anyway, he's going
statistics
to be.
apart, like
Yeah.
you can look at the statistics and say, oh, this guy has had a lot of shots on goal and blah blah blah, but he doesn't have anything to show for that. That's what matters to me at the end of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if even if the statistics point towards him having that eventual uh, big haul, it might be just a one off, and then he might just revert to whatever his current form was. So that's how I
Yeah.
look at it. And I don't really like to jump on such bandwagons unless it is backed by actual factual data that, oh, this guy has been performing consistently and is worthy of me even considering him in my team.
Yeah, I think for me as well, the thing is that even though getting in Havertz is an eventual transfer out because he's not nailed.
Yeah.
When Lukaku is back, Werner is back, Havertz will probably feature once every 2 or 3 matches, and so then that's another transfer waiting to happen that we are forced into. So for me, it was about just waiting it out. His ownership is not so high anyway, so
Yeah.
he's probably going to be differential for a few teams, but not really going to impact uh, like the ranks or whatever the scores so much. So
Now that
yeah,
we
for me
have
it's fine.
now that we have ranted on him, I'm pretty sure he's going to go and score a hat trick next game week. So
Sure, but doesn't affect our rank, I guess. Yeah,
yeah.
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So then going on to the creator of the week for game week 10, and as we mentioned, it was Sam who got an amazing 128 points.
Mhm.
Sam is one half of the FPL family. On and they have a YouTube channel where they post regular content. She's also seen on the official FPL show almost every week, and she obviously features heavily in the scout articles as well.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's a great pleasure to have her as the content creator of the week. Her current rank is 117,000, and believe it or not, she was at 750k before before game week 9, and that 128 point haul has propelled her to like 117k. That's like a massive rise.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
she was bottom of our 20 content creators, and now she's just overtaken a lot of them.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, that was a heavy rise, and yeah, so that goes to show you that sort of I guess this can happen mainly at the beginning of the season, that the ranks are so close together in terms of points that
Yeah.
one big haul can really propel you in into a high rank right now. So yeah, so that's what happened with her. Then she's played FPL for 10 seasons so far, and her best rank was 3,499 in 2019-20. And she in her 10 seasons she's managed to get a top 10k once, top 50K 4 times and top 100K another time. So 6 out of her 10 seasons have been at least in the top 100K, and so another
Nice.
stellar content creator for us to take a look at, and take a look at her picks and see how it goes for us
Yeah,
in this week.
absolutely.
So yeah, so why don't you talk us through Sam's picks for this week?
Sure. So we reviewed Sam's YouTube videos. She had a couple of videos out. For one of them was for the must-haves for Game Week 10. One of them was for the jammy picks, which she calls are players which are essentially differential, and good for that particular game week. So and we also watched Q&A between Sam and Az for the FF Scout, and have certain points to talk about from that video. So from the must-haves, she has four players, one in each position that she feels will be standouts for Game Week 10. So here are the players. In goalkeeping position, it's Ilan Melier from Leeds, Chilwell from Chelsea, Salah Liverpool, and then Ivan Toney from Brentford. So I think Sam feels like these are the players which will be standouts, and definitely you need to have them in your team. With Melier, I think it's more of the statistics that point towards a clean sheet, and it's also against Norwich. So
Yeah.
that's why she feels it's Melier. And Chilwell is just like in the form of his life, 3 goals on the trot. Salah, we don't need to talk much about. And Tony is another player who falls in the same categories, is doing statistically well, and is like about to
Yeah.
burst on the scene. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I
yeah.
think she says that the must-haves are the players who she thinks are going to get the most points in those positions.
Mm, yeah.
So yeah, so it's very interesting that she thinks that Melier is going to get the most points, probably
Mm,
keeps a clean sheet, and maybe makes quite a few saves against Norwich. So that'll be interesting
yeah.
if that happens. And yeah, Ivan Tony is always almost scoring a lot
Almost
of
scoring.
points.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, so let's see. This might be the week.
Yeah, and then the next section, jammy picks are like essentially, as you said, differentials from certain teams. So the four players that she recommends are Laporte from City, Chris Wood from Burnley, James Ward-Prowse from Southampton, and Rodrigo from Leeds. And I think she feels Rodrigo is the pick out of the lot for her, uh, es- especially because Bamford is out and Leeds have Norwich, which is the team at the bottom of the table. So if Leeds have a great game and have like score a lot of goals, then Rodrigo is definitely the starting attacker in the team and is going to return most points. So those are her jammy picks for game week 10. And then a few questions that were asked. One of them was whether she feels Havertz is a good pick over Mount, and she does not. She agrees with the sheeple. She says Mount is definitely a much more better pick over Havertz. And then a couple of more suggestions that were given were Lucas Moura from Tottenham, and then Phil Foden, because of fixtures. So that's all from Sam this week. These are all her transfer picks for game week 10. So I think we should move on and discuss what we did
Yeah.
in our teams.
Yeah. So starting with your team. Oh, five at the back. Here we go.
That's why I said, man, that
Antonio Conte
we're
is
gonna have.
already here.
I mean, that's what I said. Like we had a great discussion on how
Yeah.
defenses are not returning, but I mean,
Well,
it's the
not.
fixtures which
Yeah.
make you, just go for um, these players. I mean, um, so okay, so let's start with the changes. I've gone. I just could not afford to make any of the changes that like from the jammy picks, at least because I have had. I have all the rest of the picks from the must-haves. I didn't want to go for Melier because Leeds form, and then the match after Norwich, I just don't want to just keep on rotating goalkeepers. So I just stuck with Sanchez, and he gave like 4 points against that City match. So it's Liverpool next, I know, but still, I've taken out Diaz and I've got in Laporte. That's the only
Hmm.
change that I made, and I've gone five at the back.
It's
Trent,
Diaz to
Chilwell,
Laporte. Yeah.
yeah, Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo, Laporte, Livramento. My goalkeeper is Sanchez, and then in the midfield I have Salah captain, Son vice captain, Rafinha a little dicey for him. I hope he starts and has a great game. And then forward line is Tony and Wadi. On my bench are Smith Rowe, Mbumo, and Broja, who's out for this game week. Mbumo because he's again one of those players who has almost scored and is kind of suspicious to start this game week. I mean, even though he's declared fit, but I'm not sure if he starts. And I just didn't want to have another 2 pointer um, on my starting 11. So I've gone for him on the bench. And Smith Rowe, I mean, I hope he scores and wins Arsenal the game, but I just can't take that risk with him as of now. So
Mhm.
that's my team for game week 10.
Were you thinking of rolling your transfer as well?
Uh, I mean, we can't roll our transfers because
No, I mean,
we are
I
shit
was,
with it.
no, I mean, you could have sort of justified it saying that you have all of Sam's picks in your team and like this role. No, but no, I understand. You were saying that you were anyway tired of Ruben Diaz before.
I mean, I
Uh,
picked him in the game week where he played for like 10 minutes, and I got one
yeah,
point. And then last game week he lost the
again,
clean sheet.
yeah,
So the last 2 game weeks I owned him, didn't get any returns. So hopefully Laporte does the trick for me.
oh, yeah, yeah. Looks good. Should be interesting. Yeah, and you still have a good bench, so that any of the defenders that don't play can be substituted for a
Yeah.
good pick.
I mean, Rafinha is the most worrying for me now. I mean, if he starts and has a good game, then it's justified. But if he doesn't feature, then I have Smith Rowe who comes off my bench. So, let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, looks good. All right, moving on to my team. Um, yeah, so for me, I've just made one change.
Hmm.
Uh, I have uh, I have transferred out Saka and gotten it Mason Mount. So the main decision for me was between Mount and Foden, and I feel Foden is a sort of more consistent and more better pick, I think, in terms
Hmm.
of the points that he might get. But I just couldn't afford that transfer. I had only 1.6 in the bank, and if I had to get in Foden, I would have had to transfer out Rafinha. And Bielsa said today that Rafinha is likely to play or something like this, and so which almost always means that he will start. And
Hmm.
so against Norwich, I want to have Rafinha in the team. Yeah, so because if he starts, it's possible he might get a lot of points. If not, it's fine. I mean, it is what it is, and so that's why I transferred out Saka and brought in Mount. And so I feel uh, Mount is probably now in good form and he'll do well. And I needed to have one more Chelsea player in my team anyway. So yeah, so I'll just read out my team. I have Ramsdale in goal. I
Hmm.
have Trent, Aspilicueta, Diaz, and Cancelo. And I really pray that City keep a clean sheet, though Crystal Palace play really well. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Salah, who's my captain, Rafinha, and Mount. And up front, I have Tony, Antonio, and Vardy. And on my bench, I have Livramento as my first sub, Embuemo second sub, and Brownhill as my third sub, with Foster as the goalkeeper replacement. So yeah, again, if there are any defender rotations or any rotations for that matter, Livramento comes in, and that's fine by me. And Embuemo, as you said, is expected to feature. At least he's fine. He should be fine for the weekend. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'll start having him uh, from next week or something like this
Mm,
when Brentford has even better fixtures than Burnley away.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's my team, and yeah, yeah, should be good. I feel.
I like the change. I think I would have definitely liked to have Mount in my team, but I have no cash and I can't let go of Son. So
Hmm.
that team looks good there.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think Diaz. You have Diaz and Aspilicueta, so that's again a bit of difference in both of our teams. I
Yeah.
have Chilwell and Carling has Aspilicueta. So
Yeah.
it's again a race of who starts and who delivers. So
Yeah. That's true. Anyway, yeah, I think I like the nailed on picks. I felt when I
mm,
picked Aspilicueta that he was nailed. He didn't
mm.
feature later, but it's okay.
Mm,
But Aspilicueta is sort of nailed, and DS is obviously nailed.
yeah.
Yeah, I would also like to have Rudiger. I mean, it's just the type of player I am that
Mm,
I would rather have
mm,
these players who play 90 minutes every week than these wing backs who suddenly get a return
yeah.
and they don't feature the next week or something. So it's fine. All right. So then moving on to fixtures for game week 10 and our predictions. So we'll just quickly run through them. Leicester versus Arsenal. Both of us are going for an Arsenal win. I have finally uh, given up going against Arsenal and I feel that they'll win. You think it'll be a 3-1 victory? I think it's a 2-1 victory to Arsenal. Yeah, Leicester have not been great. Um, so Arsenal might nick this one, I feel.
Yeah, I think Jamie Vardy always scores against Arsenal, but Arsenal the way they play against Aston Villa was amazing. So if they keep the same uh, you know same form and same tenacity in the game, I'm
Mhm.
sure they have it in them to win this game easily.
Yeah. For Burnley versus Brentford, both of us has gone for a 2-1 victory to Brentford.
Ivan Tony.
Yeah, Ivan Tony. We want him to score both those goals, obviously. And then Liverpool versus Brighton. We've both gone for a Liverpool win, obviously. I've gone for a 2-0 and you've gone for a 3-0. For me, just because Brighton defense is generally very good. And so I felt that Liverpool might
Why do you
not
think
be.
I've gone for 3-0?
Yeah, because Brighton defense is good. It's 3-0. Otherwise, it would have been much more.
No,
Yeah.
because I want another Salah hat trick. I'm getting greedy with this man now. So
Oh, man, at this rate, he might reach like 400 points in like game week 19 or something. I don't
if
know.
he
That's
has another
crazy.
hat trick, I mean that will be insane.
No, that'll be totally insane. But you can't. He's too good. He's into. I've
Yeah,
Yeah. He's been in amazing form. We've not seen such amazing form for a while now with any
yeah,
player, right?
absolutely.
So yeah, it's possible. City versus Palace. Both of us have gone for a 4-0 victory for City. So yeah, yeah, we want that clean sheet for City, and obviously we want them to score a bunch of goals as well. Newcastle Chelsea. I've gone for 2-0 Chelsea victory. You've gone for 3-0. Another
Hmm.
clean sheet that we want. And so that's another score. And yeah, so Kai Havertz will get a hat trick right now, according to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the person we rant against.
Yeah.
It works like a charm. So,
Yeah.
Kai Havertz, do your
Yeah.
thing.
So Kai Havertz hat trick, but Mount with 3 assists or something. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's a dream scenario. Yeah, Watford versus Southampton. We have different opinions here. I think Watford are going to win 2-1, and you think Southampton are going to win 2-1. It's just for me. I feel it's the new manager bounce that's going to carry Watford at
I
home.
mean, that 5-2 win was incredible. I didn't like at around 60 minutes. I thought they're losing 2-1. That would be more like Everton will score more goals. But uh, you know, earlier on, I watched that game for a while, and it wasn't great what I saw. So just on that, I think Southampton are a better team than Watford. So that's why I went for a win.
Mhm. Coming on to Spurs and Spurs versus Man United, I've gone for a 2-1 victory for Man United, and you think Spurs are going to finally put the final nail in Solskjaer's coffin or something because you've gone for a 1-0 victory for Spurs.
No, I mean I want Ole to be on the wheel forever, but This match.
And Nuno evidently, because you're going for
I
a
mean,
Spurs win.
this match as an Arsenal fan is the best match because whatever the outcome is, it's good for Arsenal. Like
Yeah.
Spurs lose, good for Arsenal. United lose, good for Arsenal. So, but like I think, um, I mean, it will be a tough match. I'm sure United players will have like a good comeback. But Spurs home and maybe these players getting back into a little bit of form might just nick it 1-0. So
Mhm.
I'm going for a KG game actually. I don't know, what do you feel?
It's yeah, it's possible it'll be a KG game, but I still feel United will once again be down 1-0 and then come back to win 2-1. Because there's no other way, right? Then Norwich versus Leeds. Both of us have gone for a Leeds victory. Obviously, I feel it's going to be a clean sheet, 2-0 victory for Leeds, and you think it's going Norwich are going to
Hmm.
score, so you think it's going to be 2-1 victory for Leeds. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the result is obviously expected. The score line might be yeah
Yeah.
either of these. I feel.
Yeah.
Aston Villa versus West Ham. Both of us have gone for a West Ham victory. I think it's going to be 3-1, and you think it's going to be 3-0. Yeah, West Ham are way better attacking wise than Villa, and Villa are okay. They're not great.
Yeah, and they just beat Tottenham and they beat City in the Carabao Cup just yesterday. So
Yeah,
they're
West Ham. Yeah,
running on like a couple of really big wins, and
yeah,
so I think they're just going to capitalize on their form and win this one easily.
yeah. And finally, we have Wolves versus Everton. You think it's going to be a 2-all draw, but I think Everton might nick this one with a 2-1 victory because I feel Rafa Benitez, in response to a 5-2 loss, obviously really goes cagey and then he's going to like make it difficult and churn out that win, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, possible. I mean, with these Wolves games, it's anything is possible.
Yeah.
Like they one day turn up and be Barcelona and have
Yeah.
like 30 shots on target with no goals, and then the other day they just scored 3 goals in 10 minutes. So you don't know what to expect from these guys. But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
So those are our predictions. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, we've not sort of gone back and taken a look at how many of these predictions are right or wrong. We'll probably do that maybe at the mid-season point or something, just to have like a
that's a good
competition.
thing. We'll have a special episode just on all the 18
Yeah,
fixtures we've
yeah,
predicted, and how many of them which we
yeah,
got to, and to what point we got them correct.
yeah. That's true, and we can then finally find out how bad we are with all of this variant stuff, and that's why that also points to why we do so, badly at FPL because we are so bad at judging the variants or something like this. Yeah,
I mean,
it'll be
we are not
interesting.
that bad. We are not bottom of the table in our
Yeah, that's
spreadsheet.
true.
So
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah, we are better than some content creators, so we
yeah,
must be doing something right. Yeah, we were just
yeah.
literally following them, so that's a way. But yeah, it seems to work. So thanks a lot, everyone, for listening, and uh, yeah. So I hope I wish you all a very good luck with this game week, and yeah, may all of us see another Mo Salah hat trick and get those huge points once again. Yeah, so it's a good luck and goodbye from me.
Goodbye.